Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path looks familiar, worn by the footsteps of many who settle for less. The other, shrouded in mystery, inviting you into a destiny you've never dared to dream. You feel the weight of choice pressing down on your shoulders. How do you decide which way to go when the noise of the world drowns out the voice inside you? What if I told you there is a wisdom, a divine intelligence that is not just knowledge or advice, but a guide designed to unlock the deepest purpose of your life? This wisdom doesn't come from books, schools, or the loudest opinions around you. It's a light in the darkness, a compass pointing directly to your true potential and destiny. But here's the question. Will you dare to trust it? Will you surrender your own plans and let that wisdom steer you beyond the limits of what you think is possible? Because the moment you let God's wisdom guide you, you stop chasing shadows and start walking the path that was carved just for you, a path where every step is charged with meaning and power beyond yourself. There's a powerful truth that often gets overlooked in the rush of life. True wisdom begins not with knowledge or experience alone, but with a deep sense of reverence. An acknowledgement that there is something greater than ourselves guiding the universe and our lives. This reverence is not about fear as we usually think of it. It's about respect, awe, and a humble recognition of a higher order at work. Without this foundation, all the learning in the world can leave us lost, chasing after empty dreams or misguided goals. Consider a young apprentice learning from a master craftsman. The apprentice might be eager, ambitious, and full of ideas, but without respecting the master's knowledge and experience, progress is slow or even impossible. The apprentice needs to listen, to watch closely, and to trust that the master's wisdom will lead to true skill and mastery. This respect opens the door for learning and transformation. Similarly, when we begin life's journey with reverence for divine wisdom, we open ourselves to guidance far beyond what we could imagine on our own. One timeless principle captures this idea perfectly. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. This phrase, often misunderstood, actually points to the start of true understanding and insight. It means that wisdom doesn't begin with human effort or cleverness alone, but with a heart posture that recognizes a divine source of truth. This recognition is the gateway. Once you step through it, the mysteries of life start to unfold, and you find yourself equipped to navigate challenges with confidence and clarity. Imagine you are in a dense forest, trying to find your way without a map or compass. The trees block your view, the paths are unclear, and every direction looks the same. You could wander aimlessly for days, growing more lost and exhausted. But what if a wise guide appears? Someone who knows the forest inside and out. You have two choices: ignore the guide and trust your instinct, or follow the guide's direction and reach your destination safely. The choice to respect and trust that guide is exactly like the reverence that begins wisdom. It sets you on the path to your purpose rather than wandering in confusion. Think about the way many people approach life's big decisions. How often do we rush forward relying only on what we see, what feels right in the moment, or what others tell us? How often do we fail to pause, reflect, and consider a deeper wisdom that might be trying to lead us? What if the reason so many people feel lost, stuck, or unfulfilled is because they start with their own understanding instead of a reverent heart that seeks true wisdom? Real life shows us the cost of ignoring this principle. Talented individuals who refuse to acknowledge guidance beyond themselves often face repeated setbacks. Businesses fail, relationships crumble, and dreams dissolve not because the people lacked skill or ambition, but because they lacked humility and reverence to begin with. They tried to build their lives on shifting sands rather than on a solid foundation of divine wisdom. On the other hand, those who begin with reverence develop resilience. They learn to adapt, to grow, and to trust the process, even when the path is unclear. Consider the analogy of a seed planted in fertile soil. The seed has all the potential to become a towering tree, but it needs to be planted in the right environment, one that nourishes and supports its growth. The soil represents reverence and acknowledgement of a higher wisdom. Without it, the seed cannot take root and flourish. No matter how good the seed, without the right foundation, it will wither. Your life and purpose are the seed, and the soil of reverence is where true wisdom begins and grows. Ask yourself, am I planting my life on the firm soil of respect for divine wisdom? Or am I trying to grow on rocky ground, relying only on what I see and feel? Am I willing to humble myself enough to listen to guidance that may challenge my current plans and beliefs? What might I discover if I approached every decision, every challenge, with a heart that says, I don't have all the answers, but I trust there is wisdom beyond me that will lead me? The truth is, beginning with reverence opens doors that human wisdom alone cannot unlock. It gives you a clarity that cuts through confusion, a peace that steadies your soul amid uncertainty, and a strength that carries you beyond your limitations. It's the first step to aligning your life with a purpose far greater than any you could design yourself. When you choose to start here, you are no longer wandering blindly. You become a seeker of truth, guided by wisdom that has stood the test of time and circumstance. That is where your journey to purpose truly begins. Imagine setting out on a journey to a destination you've never visited before. You have a general idea of where you want to go, but the roads are unfamiliar and the signs aren't always clear. Without a reliable guide, you might take wrong turns, get lost, or waste precious time and energy. This is the challenge we face when we try to navigate life and purpose relying only on our own understanding. The truth is, without divine wisdom acting as a guiding system, our efforts are like a car without a GPS, moving, but often off course. Think about how a GPS works. It doesn't just tell you where to go, it constantly recalculates, adjusts to changes in traffic, and reroutes you around obstacles. It keeps you focused on the destination even when the path isn't straightforward. Divine wisdom works much the same way. It's not a one-time instruction or a vague suggestion. It's an ongoing, dynamic guide that steers you through the twists and turns of life's journey. It alerts you when you're headed in the wrong direction and encourages you to take the right steps, even when the way looks difficult or unclear. Have you ever tried to assemble something complicated without the instructions? Maybe a piece of furniture or a gadget? You can struggle for hours, making mistakes and getting frustrated simply because you don't have the right guide. Life is like that assembly project. Your purpose is the completed masterpiece, but the steps to get there aren't always obvious. Divine wisdom is the instruction manual. If you follow it carefully, the pieces fall into place much faster and with less confusion. Ask yourself, how often do you try to figure everything out on your own? How many times have you felt stuck or overwhelmed because the path wasn't clear? What would happen if you surrendered your need to control every detail and trusted a higher wisdom to lead you? The paradox is that control often leads to chaos, but surrender to guidance brings clarity and peace. Think about a pilot flying through dense clouds without instruments. Without a navigation system, the pilot cannot see the horizon or landmarks and risks losing the way entirely. But with the right instruments and guidance, the pilot can fly safely even when visibility is zero. That's the power of divine wisdom in your life. It becomes your instrument to navigate through uncertainty, fear, and confusion. Sometimes we resist this guidance because it asks us to take detours or delays that don't make sense to us at the moment. We want fast results, immediate answers, and clear signs. But divine wisdom often calls us to patience and trust, to wait for the right timing and the best route. The GPS recalculates when there's a roadblock, not because it's lost, but because it's adjusting for the best path. So must we adjust and trust the process? Consider the story of someone who builds a successful business. They don't start with every detail figured out. Instead, they listen to mentors, learn from mistakes, and adapt their strategy over time. The wisdom they receive guides their decisions, preventing costly errors and pointing toward growth. Without that ongoing guidance, many would give up or go in circles. Your life's purpose requires this same willingness to be led, to adjust, and to stay focused on the destination no matter how winding the road. What if you could live every day with the confidence that you are not wandering aimlessly, but are being led by a wisdom that knows your destination better than you do? What would it mean to let go of your own limited understanding and embrace a guide that never fails, that sees the whole map, even when you only see the next step? This is the difference between living by human logic and living by divine wisdom. When you let divine wisdom guide you, your steps are no longer random or based on guesswork. Each decision, no matter how small, becomes purposeful and aligned with your highest potential. The fog lifts, the obstacles become manageable, and your journey becomes one of clear progress. It's a journey marked not by confusion or frustration, but by direction and hope. The moment you accept that wisdom is your GPS, you gain more than guidance. You gain peace amid uncertainty and confidence amid change. You stop fighting the unknown and start navigating it with assurance. This is the power of letting divine wisdom lead you to your purpose. In a world that moves at lightning speed, patience can feel like a forgotten virtue. We want instant results, quick answers, and fast success. But when it comes to discovering and walking in your true purpose, patience isn't just a nice to have, it's essential. Divine wisdom doesn't operate on our timeline. It unfolds according to a higher plan. The moment we grasp this, we begin to see that patience and trust go hand in hand. They are not signs of weakness or delay, but of strength and alignment with a purpose far greater than the moment's desires. One profound truth reminds us, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. This principle teaches that life's most significant achievements and breakthroughs happen in their appointed time. When we rush ahead of that timing, we risk missing vital steps or facing unnecessary obstacles. But when we learn to wait and trust, we open ourselves to growth, preparation, and clarity that no shortcut can provide. Imagine planting a tree. You don't expect it to grow overnight. You water it, give it sunlight, and patiently watch as the roots take hold beneath the soil. The growth is invisible at first, but it's happening, steady and sure. If you try to pull the tree up every day to check its progress, you'd only stunt its growth. Patience allows the roots of your calling to grow deep, ensuring that when the time comes, you can stand strong and bear fruit. Think about a diamond. Its brilliance doesn't come without enduring intense pressure and time. The stone must go through a process of refinement before it shines with unmatched clarity. Your journey toward purpose is similar. The delays, the challenges, and even the quiet seasons are part of refining you. They build character, wisdom, and resilience. How often do we see people give up just before their breakthrough because they mistake waiting for failure? What if patience is actually the preparation for your greater success? Ask yourself, how do you handle the waiting seasons in your life? Do you see them as wasted time or essential steps? When faced with uncertainty or delay, do you grow anxious and try to force your own way? Or do you trust that the unseen hand of wisdom is working for your good? The ability to trust during the waiting is a defining mark of those who truly walk in purpose. Consider the example of a master chef preparing a complex dish. The cooking process cannot be rushed. Certain flavors need time to blend, ingredients must simmer, and patience is key to achieving the perfect result. If the chef hurried and served the dish too soon, the meal would be incomplete and disappointing. The same applies to your purpose. There are seasons of preparation, refining, and waiting that must be honored. Divine wisdom knows the perfect timing for everything. Have you ever experienced moments when a door seemed to close just when you were ready to enter? It can feel like rejection or failure, but what if that closure was actually divine wisdom redirecting you to a better opportunity? When you learn to trust timing, you begin to see delays not as obstacles, but as redirections, signs that guide you to the path that's truly meant for you. What if impatience is the enemy of purpose? What if rushing ahead blinds you to the subtle guidance that prepares you for your next step? When you practice patience, you also cultivate awareness. You become more attuned to the whispers of wisdom, guiding you quietly behind the scenes. This waiting becomes active, not passive, an intentional season of listening, growing, and aligning. In real life, many stories prove this principle. Inventors, artists, leaders, all have faced long seasons of preparation before their moment of breakthrough. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is often the ability to trust the process and wait for the right time. Purpose is a journey, not a race, and patience is the companion that ensures you arrive ready to fulfill your destiny. So what does it mean to truly trust and be patient? It means choosing faith over fear, hope over frustration. It means believing that divine wisdom is working even when the path isn't clear. It means understanding that your purpose is not just about reaching a destination quickly, but about growing into the person you are meant to become along the way. When you embrace patience and trust in the timing of your journey, you open yourself to a deeper flow of wisdom. You no longer fight the waiting. Instead, you partner with it. You stop resisting what you cannot control and start cooperating with the unseen hand that shapes your life's story. Patience isn't passive waiting. It's an active trust that the best is coming in the perfect time. It's the key to walking steadily toward your purpose, even when the way feels slow or uncertain. And when you learn to walk this way, you find peace amid the process and strength in every season. Ignoring divine wisdom is like trying to navigate a vast ocean without a compass or stars to guide you. At first, it might seem exciting, freedom to chart your own course, to follow your instincts and desires. But very quickly, the reality sets in. The currents are strong, the storms unpredictable, and without guidance, you risk drifting endlessly, exhausted and lost. Life without wisdom is full of detours, dead ends, and unnecessary pain. The harsh truth is that many people spend years chasing goals that never truly satisfy because they ignore the essential guidance meant to lead them to their true purpose. One profound principle reminds us that the way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. This highlights the danger of ignoring wisdom, thinking we know better, relying only on our own understanding and impulses. It's a common trap, especially when confidence turns into stubbornness. We want to prove we can do it on our own, but often that pride blinds us to the better path. How often do we see people repeatedly make the same mistakes, ignoring signs and warnings simply because they refuse to listen? This principle challenges us to humble ourselves and be open to guidance. Imagine driving a car without paying attention to the road signs or the speed limits. At first, it might feel thrilling to ignore the rules, but soon you risk accidents, fines, or getting lost entirely. Wisdom is like those road signs. It keeps you safe and on track. When you ignore them, the consequences are real and sometimes devastating. Purpose isn't something you stumble upon by chance or reckless haste. It requires careful attention and a willingness to follow the signs placed by divine wisdom. Think about a farmer who ignores the seasons, planting crops at the wrong time or neglecting the soil's needs. No matter how hard the farmer works, the harvest will be poor or fail altogether. Ignoring wisdom is like ignoring the natural rhythms of life. We live in a world designed with order and timing, and when we rebel against that order, we pay a price. The failures, frustrations, and setbacks we experience are often the direct result of stepping outside the guidance that would have protected and directed us. Ask yourself, how many times have you experienced frustration or failure that seemed avoidable in hindsight? Were there moments when you sensed a warning or a wise voice but chose to ignore it? What if those moments were not obstacles, but opportunities? Opportunities to course correct before things got worse. How different would your life be if you had learned to listen more closely to the wisdom around you? Real life is filled with examples of this truth. Consider entrepreneurs who rush into business without proper research or mentorship. Their ventures may start with enthusiasm, but many fail because they ignored crucial advice or overlooked essential preparation. The cost is not just financial, it's emotional and spiritual. Similarly, in relationships, ignoring wisdom about communication, boundaries, and respect leads to heartbreak and brokenness. The path of ignoring wisdom is paved with unnecessary pain. What keeps us from listening? Sometimes it's fear, the fear of admitting we don't have all the answers. Sometimes it's pride, a stubborn belief that we can handle everything on our own. Other times it's impatience, the desire for quick results that blinds us to the long-term value of wise guidance. But what if the real failure isn't in making mistakes, but in refusing to learn from them? What if ignoring wisdom is the greatest risk of all? Consider a ship captain who dismisses weather reports and decides to sail straight into a storm. The decision might come from confidence or stubbornness, but the outcome is often disaster. Wisdom provides the forecasts and warnings. Ignoring it endangers not only the ship, but all aboard. Your life is the ship, and divine wisdom is the captain's guide. When you choose to ignore that guidance, you're sailing blind into danger. The question is not whether difficulties will come, but how you face them. Without wisdom, challenges become overwhelming. With wisdom, challenges become opportunities for growth and refinement. Ignoring wisdom may offer temporary freedom, but it ultimately leads to bondage in confusion, regret, and loss. True freedom is found in aligning with wisdom that leads to purpose and fulfillment. When you choose to listen to wisdom instead of ignoring it, you open yourself to a life marked by clarity, peace, and success. You avoid unnecessary setbacks and find strength to overcome the unavoidable challenges. This choice is not always easy. It requires humility, openness, and a willingness to change direction when needed. But the rewards are great. A life lived on purpose, guided by wisdom that never fails. Ignoring wisdom may seem like an act of independence, but it is often the beginning of needless struggle. The wiser choice is to listen, to learn, and to let divine wisdom shape your journey. That is how you move from confusion to clarity and from frustration to fulfillment. There is a powerful tension that exists in every person who seeks to live a life of purpose. The tension between humility and courage. On one hand, embracing divine wisdom requires humility, the willingness to admit that we do not have all the answers, to listen carefully, and to be guided by something greater than ourselves. On the other hand, it demands courage, the boldness to act on that wisdom, often stepping beyond our comfort zones, risking failure and facing the unknown. Without humility, we close ourselves off from wisdom. Without courage, wisdom remains dormant and our purpose unrealized. The balance between these two qualities is where transformation happens. One biblical principle captures this dynamic beautifully. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Meekness here does not mean weakness or passivity, but a humble strength that trusts and submits to wisdom greater than self-will. It is the foundation for receiving guidance. But meekness alone is not enough. The meek must also be bold, willing to move forward even when the path is unclear. This balance is the secret to walking steadily in purpose. Imagine a tightrope walker high above the ground. To succeed, they must have humility to trust their training and the safety net below, but also the courage to take each step confidently into the unknown. If they lack humility, they might ignore the safety measures and fall prey to arrogance. If they lack courage, they may freeze and never move forward. Life's journey toward purpose demands the same dance: humility to listen and courage to act. Think about learning a new skill, like riding a bicycle. At first, humility means accepting that you will fall, that you don't know how to do it perfectly yet, and you need support. Courage means pushing past fear of failure, getting back up and trying again. The process is uncomfortable, uncertain, and sometimes painful, but it is necessary to move from beginner to mastery. Similarly, when divine wisdom calls you toward your purpose, it asks you to humble yourself enough to listen and courageous enough to act, even when success is not guaranteed. Ask yourself, where in your life do you struggle more? Humility to accept guidance or courage to take bold steps? How often do you let pride keep you from listening or fear keep you from moving forward? What would it mean to live in a way that embraces both, trusting wisdom and stepping boldly into your calling? Consider the story of a leader who is wise but hesitant to act. Their knowledge and insight are wasted if they never take the leap. Conversely, a brave person who rushes forward without wisdom risks failure and setbacks. The most effective leaders are those who balance humility with courage, seeking guidance, and then moving decisively. Your life's purpose requires the same balance. In real life, we see countless examples of people who waited too long, paralyzed by fear, or who acted too hastily without guidance. Both extremes lead to frustration and missed opportunities. The secret is found in a posture of both readiness and reflection, a willingness to listen deeply and then to move boldly. What would happen if you approached every decision with this dual mindset? How might your life change if you humbled yourself enough to hear the quiet voice of wisdom, but also found the courage to follow it even when the road is uncertain? This balance is not easy, but it is essential. Imagine a sculptor working on a block of marble. The artist must have the humility to see the raw stone for what it is and the courage to chip away pieces, sometimes making mistakes, but always moving toward the vision. Your life is the marble, and wisdom is the artist's vision. You must be humble to accept the shaping and courageous to endure the process. Every great accomplishment begins with a moment of humility and a step of courage. To walk in your purpose, you must be willing to say, I don't have all the answers. And also, I will act anyway. The willingness to listen and the bravery to act are the two wings that lift you into your destiny. When you cultivate humility, you open your heart to wisdom. When you cultivate courage, you empower your steps. Together, they create a powerful momentum that carries you through challenges and toward fulfillment. Without one or the other, the journey stalls. Remember, humility and courage are not signs of weakness. They are the marks of true strength and wisdom. They enable you to trust what you cannot see fully and move confidently into what you cannot yet understand completely. This balance is where divine wisdom takes root in action, transforming potential into reality and dreams into purpose. When you embrace both, you position yourself to inherit the fullness of your calling and live a life that truly matters. As we come to the close of this journey together, remember that letting divine wisdom guide you is not just a choice, it is the pathway to unlocking your true purpose. It requires humility to listen, courage to act, patience to wait, and the willingness to surrender your own limited understanding. When you embrace this, you step into a life of clarity, peace, and fulfillment that no human effort alone can provide. May you walk boldly with wisdom lighting your way, confident that your purpose is unfolding perfectly, even when the path seems unclear. I wish you the very best on this incredible journey ahead. Thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts with you. May your life be richly blessed and your purpose fully realized. Good luck.